Hi there, this is Donna Kozik. Welcome to our Voice to Impact Spring Summit. This is our panel talking about the voice of advocacy. Very pleased to have you here. Thank you for spending some time with us to learn how to improve your voice, get some tips, some gems, some inspiration for yourself. And voice of advocacy, it's an interesting subject. But we found that a number of the people in my Voice to Impact program had this, whether it was a primary message of theirs or a secondary message of theirs. And I believe there's a special skill in being able to speak up for someone else without speaking over them or taking their power away. Empowering and educating others on the behalf of those you love is a trial in communication. Plus, learning to share your own message and voice in your own work and putting a megaphone to your words can take practice. So these speakers are going to get you started. I'm pleased to introduce Vicki Dobbs, author of You First and several other books, and founder of Wisdom Evolution and the You First Revolution to help people gift the world with the best of themselves. Also, Pat Bumpass, author of Jump Into Positivity and several other books, and a self-care advocate, an advocate for parents with children with special needs, and Julaina Kleist, who has written multiple books and helps writers find their voice with her online courses and coaching, and who also has a passion for helping writers take their work beyond good enough. Thank you so much, panelists, for being here with us. And I want to start off with a question that I'd like each of you to address, and that is, where do you find the strength and the energy to be an advocate for someone else or to help someone be an advocate for themselves? Let's start off with Vicki.
Oh, hot seat right off the bat.
You bet.
Hi, everyone. I think that strength comes from inside. It comes from an inner knowing that there's more to this world than just you. But to advocate for yourself, to put you first, put you in a position to be of service to everything and everything else in your life that you want to do. So it's that strength that comes from within that says, I've got more.
Indeed. And Vicki, I'm going to dig a little deeper with you because you're one of the most prolific people I know when it comes to writing and get your message out. You First, and then Hot on Its Heels was another one of your books. How do you personally find the energy to do this?
I have to schedule it. I think that for me, it comes down to putting me on the calendar first, and then what's important to me, and the rest of it kind of falls into place. So when I schedule me, I find time to do everything, and it's, but I have to get up there first. I have to put me at the top of the priority list.
Right. For sure, keep your own energy going so then you can get out there and help others find and share theirs as well.
That and Diet Coke.
What was that?
That and Diet Coke.
I hear you. I hear you. Yes, for sure. Julaina, how about you? I think that you have sometimes that you don't see the gifts that you bring others through your advocacy, through your work. I think even in the following the passions of what we do, it is a form of advocacy. How do you find the strength to get it done?
I have to make priorities. When I was a caregiver for 3 years for my mom and my dad, I had to set priorities, and they were my priority. And then whatever time I had left over, I could devote to writing and all the programs that you offer that are so wonderful.
All right. So when you said you made them a priority, was that a difficult decision or something pretty easy for you to do?
Pretty easy, because I was so involved in keeping them alive and happy and well for as long as possible. They were 96 when I was caregiving for them. So, it was a very health-wise touchy situation. And I was there ready to make sure that they were getting the best health care they could get.
I think that you say that was an easy decision, but I will tell you that a lot of people out there might not necessarily struggle with it, but would have some thoughts of like, this is hard to make this. It is hard, right? Yeah. Did you find, you had to give up some things of your own priorities, right?
Absolutely. I couldn't go anywhere for 3 years.
Yeah,
Because I had to be there for them every day.
right. And now we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but you juggle classes and your own writing and things like that.
Mhm.
And yeah, so there's something to be said for that as well, as like Vicki would say, of putting yourself first.
Right.
Pat, moving on to you, where do you find the strength and the energy to be an advocate for someone else?
Thank you for that question, Donna, because I think about that all the time. And let me just take a minute here and apologize for any noise that you guys might hear. They're working on my roof, and that's a whole different story there. But it's easy to say you just do it, because that's what popped into my head was you just do it. When my son was born and he was diagnosed with autism, then I'm his mom. I had to do it. So now I take care of my parents. I have to do it. But by the same token, in order to keep taking care of other people, to piggyback off of what Julaina said and what Vicki said, have to have that time for myself, whether it's reading a book for 5 or 10 minutes, and not a book that will teach me something, but just something that will let me just kind of float away, or whether it's listening to music. I've talked about loving Luther Vandross, so listening to him for 5 minutes with my headset in. And also I've taken to putting up a sign like, leave me alone. So and taking that time to let people know that I'm taking 5 minutes for myself.
Yeah, super duper important. And also I'm going to point out the three of you are leaders in my communities of different, not only programs, but coffee cooler and study hall, and showing up for yourself and for others there. And this isn't a plug for those programs, but instead for the community that's a part of it. Could each of you just kind of speak briefly about how that has helped you? Vicki?
I think for me, it's about that calendar again. If I know I'm going to show up, then I show up ready to do something. And sometimes that's just get through my email. But it also gives me a container that has creative energy to it. So it encourages, and the support there is terrific. So showing up for myself in a container that holds creativity is, it's like getting that extra jolt of coffee in the morning.
Yeah, or Diet Coke for sure.
Right.
So yes, coming in with that extra joke. I will say that I have found that this little area of mine with my laptop, I have my iPad here with my bestie. We're frequently just kind of working together alone. And then of course, my main computer here, where either I'm training classes or taking part myself in a study hall or a writing program. It serves as that anchor for me to touch base with other people, to get connected. I know Pat, sometimes after I'm like, okay, does anybody have any questions? And Pat will be like, Donna, how are you doing? So I really appreciate that. And Julaina, did you have anything to add about is this a help or a hindrance, I guess, in being connected to your computer, raising your hand and taking over a writing party or something like that?
Oh, I enjoy it tremendously. And I'm so grateful for this group because I teach writing courses. I have three going on, one for 20 years I've been doing it, and it was live until COVID. And we bonded so closely. We're really, really good friends now. And I feel that way about study hall. I mean, coffee cooler, we all got to know each other and we support each other. And it's just such a wonderful community that I just love doing the writing parties with these people.
Absolutely. And Pat, what would you have to add?
I just have to say that I enjoy it. I get on screen and I cut up, and my own quirky sense of humor, and everybody giggles and laughs, and we're just a community. And we have become friends where we only get to see each other. I'm in the East Coast. Most of you guys are on the, West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't get to physically see each other, but we get to see each other every day on Zoom. So, you know, when I have technological issues, I freak out because I want to see you guys. So it has brought me out of my shell this is part of why I enjoyed the program as well, but it's brought me out of my shell. And because all I want to do is write, and I'll tell anybody, all I want to do is write, but I now have a voice out there with a group of people that I might not would have ever met.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I know when the pandemic started, I'm like, oh, my people aren't as used to this as I am, like being home and being online and stuff all the time. So that's how Coffee Cooler and Study Hall got started. And I'm so glad that everybody is still connected, attending when they can, even though things are opening up again and stuff too. I have some individual questions for you, starting with Pat this time. I love the way you say you have a son who is blessed with autism. He's a young adult now. Can you talk about how you transitioned your advocacy for him from when he was in elementary school to today?
So he is a young adult. And when he was first diagnosed, when he came all the way up through until he graduated from high school, I was his mom. I spoke for him. Whatever he needed, I knew and I understood that what I knew for him was best. Now, as his guardian and as his advocate, I had to transition to asking him what he wants, trying to help him understand what is going on and asking him for his opinion. It took me a long time to get to that point. I admit it. And sometimes I still answer for him, even when he's standing right there with me. But it goes back to what you said in your introduction, Donna, about not talking over them and empowering them to use their voice, but also being there to support them and to let them know that they have a right to what they want. So that was the biggest transition that I had to do when he became a young adult. So I have to ask him what he wants or what he thinks about a given situation, and then together we come up with the solution.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's so important, something I never really thought about, but yes, the voice of advocacy is not about speaking for them, but speaking with them.
Yep.
To share what
Yes.
it is that they want, and what a fine line that must be sometimes to walk. So a lot
Yes.
of credit for you to talk about that. And then Julaina, you work with writers to share their message with the world. What is the biggest challenge you see with them struggling in this area in finding their voice? And what's your advice to them?
Well, I think procrastination is probably the biggest one. And just having confidence that they can do this. And I really support them with that wholeheartedly. So those are the two areas that I think they want to write, but they don't think it's good enough, or they don't, you know, they keep putting it off. I'll do it later. But especially if you want to write the story about someone who you've been caregiving for, or, you know, a loved one that is seriously ill, it's especially important to leave a legacy. And one tip I would say, which I did, was I made notes, just quick notes, because when I was caregiving for my mom, especially when she was in hospice, I didn't have time to write sentences and, you know, just really get into my writing, but I made notes on the different calendar days of what happened. And those are so valuable to me now. I'm writing a book, My Mother's Cancer, What Worked and What Didn't. And I wouldn't be able to write this book if I hadn't taken those notes, because it stimulates my memories. And I would highly suggest that people do that. And plus, I don't have any children, so it's not necessarily a legacy for me, but it is for, you know, especially if you have descendants, and, you know, that book could be carried down through generations. And what a gift that would be, to know what happened, or what the person was like when they were alive. So that would be my biggest tip. And as far as just sitting down and writing, join a class where you have support and accountability, because otherwise the days just disappear and it's not going to get done. So you really need somebody to help you meet those deadlines, which I appreciate so much with Donna in her publishing incubator. She's right there and she shows us different ways to schedule our writing time. And it's just very, very valuable.
That's good. And thank you for that. And also you yourself, again, you're just such a great leader for your writers to help them develop their voice and to get the writing done, and to do some gentle yet thorough reviews of them as well. When it came time to keeping those notes, that's really interesting what you said. And you could do it, of course, if you're being a caregiver, but also anything, we're all going through life's trials, right? And to take little notes along the way, they could become super valuable later on, even for ourselves to look back on and say, oh, this is how I achieved this, or this is how I got through that. But it could also turn into a book. I was just curious, Julaina, were you conscious of that when you were writing the notes, or you're like, I better write this down so I don't forget it in case I need to know it more later?
I didn't really think about writing a book at that time, but I wanted to remember. I just wanted to remember what she said and, what we did to try to help her get the best care. And we were really having trouble with that. I can give you people a lot of tips about that, but it's also going to be in my book. You got to be an advocate. And so that's why I wrote it down, to be an advocate. So I could say, well, remember to the doctor, you said this and this, or just so that I could remember. And yeah, like you said, it could be any event. It doesn't necessarily have to be someone that you cared for when they were ill. It could be any topic. But take notes. A lot of people say journaling. I'm not a journaler, but I do like my little calendar, and I just stuff all the days with little notes about what the day was like.
Yeah, for sure. And I know as resulted, I've had the privilege of seeing some of the passages from your upcoming book, and those little notes really have helped, not only in the tips of what worked and what didn't, but here are some beautiful memories that you have with you and your mom. So good for you. Good for you. And Vicki, of course, with your book, You First, you talk about the importance of self-care. And women especially, I believe, can have a tough time with this. How do you suggest they start thinking about it to really make a change in their life, to be an advocate for themselves?
Well, I think, like I said earlier, is you have to put you on your priority list. And I don't think, especially women of my generation, are taught that that's a possibility. Everything else goes on the calendar before, and who even thinks to put, time out for me on their calendar. So I set alarms. Bless the new technology in the phones. I must have 37 alarms on my phone. Sometimes they remind me to stand up. Sometimes they remind me just to breathe. And sometimes they remind me to take time out for me. And that can be as simple as me deciding every morning I'm going to go sit outside for 5 minutes. And it is all about thinking about yourself first. And that really takes some retraining, unless you've grown up with somebody who said, by the way, now it's time for you, go do something for yourself. It's a habit that's hard learned. So try practicing 5 minutes a day for 30 days in a row. A lot of the best trainers says you can change it, and it becomes habit if you do it every day for 30 days. So that's what I suggest to people when they first ask me how. I said, just pick one thing, simple and easy, and do it every day for 30 days. So I'm 11 days into sitting outside for 5 minutes by myself each morning.
Good for you. Good for you. I was going to ask, how do you train the people who live with you to allow you to put yourself first? But I don't think that's probably the case from what you're saying here. It's our own sense of having put ourselves first, to take 5 minutes and go sit outside, and letting everybody know, or just putting ourselves first, letting ourselves know that we're important enough to do that.
And it is important to learn boundaries. I didn't know until I was 55 years old that word existed in my hemisphere. So it is hard sometimes to take back our own voice, because we've let so many people and so many things speak for us. So If you can think in terms of boundaries being amoeba-like and flexible, not hard like fences, then you can share with your spouse or your children, hey guys, look, mom needs 5. Or like Pat does, hang it on the door. Or for me, I sometimes take myself away, like Calgon, take me away. And the bathtub's a really good place to do that because you can lock the door.
There you go. Absolutely. Really, really good advice right there. I like that boundaries can be flexible like an amoeba, but they are there all along. You're all featured speakers and students as part of my Voice to Impact program. And Vicki, you've taken part and led a number of workshops, I know, and Voice to Impact has a focus on video. How have you found that to be different?
It was hard for me because I have little habits like watching you. Now I'm looking down instead of at the camera. So you've had to work really hard to get me to look at the camera instead of what was on the screen, and to find a voice that came from me naturally and not a scripted one. So that's been a real challenge for me because of course I want to get it right. So I don't want to forget anything. And so I'm learning that I have the right words. I just have to get comfortable sharing them. So thank you for that.
Yes, it's my pleasure, my privilege to work with you. And I think everybody would agree that we've all come a long way, baby, in doing video compared to those first read to camera exercises that we conducted. Julaina, you're an expert in showing people how to find their voice in writing and get down in words some of their thoughts and their beliefs. How do you find video to be different?
Oh, I love video. And over the years, I have about a couple hundred videos on Vimeo. But what I learned from your program was how to talk about myself. I'm not a real good marketer. And so you had to encourage me, and a couple people like Carol Smithson on the study halls would encourage me to try again, to talk about what I do. That was difficult, really difficult. But I think I'm coming there now where I can do it without going blank.
That is good. That is good. Thank you, Carol. I see you here. So thank you for being and encouraging each other, which I really appreciate about people in my community. And yes, it can definitely be difficult to talk about yourself, but yet when people are watching your videos, they want to know, who are they hearing from? And so that's why we spent some time working on kind of introduction sentences, just to kind of get the lay of the land, let people know what's going on there before you launch into your tip or whatever it might be. So great. Now, Pat, you are like me, where you sign up for things, even though part of you is screaming, no, don't make us do this. And I think that's a little bit of what you had with this program. What was the biggest thing you had to overcome before you even started it, just to become a part of the Voice Impact program?
The biggest thing I had to overcome, besides the fact, and you knew I was going to say it, that's why you started me off like that, I hate video. But the biggest thing that I had to overcome was me. Because when we talked about me doing this program, I was like, no, I'm not doing it. None of that. I can't. And as soon as I said I can't, that other part of me said, yes, you can. And the fact that I did it, I turned in my portfolio with my 4 or 5 videos. I forgot how many. I did it. And I don't mind doing it now. I haven't done as many as I said I was going to do, but I've done a few others. And pull my son in with me, especially if I do a card reading or something like that, because he loves it. And then I feed off of him because he's just got the biggest smile on his face. But I had to get over myself. It's not about me. It's about the lesson that I teach or the tip that I give. And it's about putting my voice and my message out there for someone else to hear that needs to hear it.
Super well said. Amen. Amen. Yes. And Rose G says you are a natural, Pat. Well, yes, I would agree. You found your zone. You absolutely found your zone. If anybody have any questions for our panelists, feel free to type those in the chat. A few others, Sharon says, Pat, you're terrific and so humorous. You're a natural. Absolutely. I think you all are. And I can personally see the growth in all of you. And I'm just so proud of you and so proud to have you as part of the Voice to Impact Spring Summit here. And yes, also Wanda agreeing with Julaina, procrastination is something you want to overcome. And we all are in a way. I think part of it, I will say in procrastination, it's not that we're not busy. And it's not even that we're not busy with what's important. I think part of the problem is that part of our brain is like, I should be doing something else. I should be doing something else. I should be doing something else. And if you can quiet that part down while you focus on what is right in front of you, I think you're batting 1,000 in those cases. So absolutely. All right. Very good. Excellent. Let me see if we have any questions here. Annie says, the thing that scares you the most is the thing that you should be doing, from Tiamo. So yes, absolutely. Yes. And Linda Lilyquist agrees, quiet the I could be's. Yes. Quiet the I shoulds and the I could be's. For sure. Thank you so much, panelists, for being here. For those who are here live, we're going to have our door prizes after I conclude this recording. And again, thank you so much for being here. We have more fun panelists coming up, and including our keynote speaker tonight, Leanne Heel will be here, and I'm excited to talk to her about confidence and how you can develop it. Leanne is a super successful business person and just a really fun person to know and to hear speak. So please come join us at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern, to hear our keynote speaker, Leanne. Then we have a full day of panels tomorrow. I'll send you some reminders. And then Saturday is our mini master classes. Saturday morning, we will have 3 20-minute master classes, and that's going to be a lot of fun too. And we'll let some of our Voice to Impact students shine even more. For the rest of you, again, thank you. Hang out with me here if you're here live. If you're watching the recording, thank you for putting some time to learning how to develop your own voice of advocacy. And my name is Donna Kozik. I am the creator and leader of Voice to Impact, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say.